met
boy.
Bell. He's our EcoTravel specialist, and he's going to give us the lowdown on EcoTravel tonight.
Ooh.
And if
Everyone can
anyone
see
has
this?
questions, just put them in the chat.
Are we good, Deb? Screen is sharing?
Looks good to me.
Perfect. Let me do a couple other housekeeping things here. There we go. Okay, again, hi everyone. As Deb just mentioned, my name is Matt Bell. I'm in the EcoTravel office here at Connecticut Audubon, and I'm the travel specialist. So tonight we're going to talk a bit about the history of EcoTravel, but also highlight some of our trips and all the things that we offer. So we'll go ahead and get started right away. If you have any questions, of course, drop them in the chat as we go through. Let's see, there we go. First and foremost, a quick history of EcoTravel. Connecticut Audubon first started offering field trips back in the 1950s, but they didn't really leave the region. They really stayed in southern New England, not going farther than Block Island. In the 1970s, Miley, who's still with us today and still leading some trips for us, took over and started organizing some longer trips, including Hawk Mountain and Chincoteague. But then in the 80s, he started to go international. So he's today still goes to Tanzania and the Galapagos for us, but more destinations were later added on. In 1996, Andy Griswold, the current director, was brought on full-time, and the program was renamed into EcoTravel. Over those nearly 30 years, EcoTravel now offers over 50 trips a year, ranging from day trips to overnight adventures, everywhere from a couple hours to 2 weeks or more. And just over 1,000 people travel every year with the EcoTravel team. And of course, everything that we make goes back to supporting the organization with the conservation and education initiatives across the state. So just an example of where we've gone over the years, I have a little screenshot from eBird. I've put most of the lists in, but not all. So it just shows you that over the course of, the oldest list I have is 1987. So over the course of about 40 years, EcoTravel has traveled across the globe and seen just over 3,500 species. We are actually missing lists from India and Peru, so I wouldn't be surprised if that number is actually a lot higher and over 4,000. So again, we offer essentially 4 different types of trips with Connecticut Audubon. We have traditional day trips, Connecticut River cruises, and also some Long Island Sound cruises, domestic overnight trips, international overnights, and some year-round opportunities. So I'm going to talk about the 5 of those in depth, and then also highlight a couple examples of overnight trips that we do, since that's one of the things that we get the most questions about. But first, we have our traditional day trips. So they're regional. They are primarily within Connecticut, but also go to Rhode Island, Massachusetts, and New York. And they range from 6 to 12 hours on average. Some can go a little longer. And when we price them out, the price always includes transportation, guiding, and entry fees. And it doesn't include food. Now, if we do a boat trip, such as a whale watch, the price also includes the cost of the whale watch ticket. But the whale watch is an example of one of the longer trips we do. We also, every spring, do trips across some state forests in Southeast Connecticut. We do trips to New York for short-eared owls in the winter. We'll go looking for snowy owls some days, harlequin ducks, stuff like that, species that can be found in New England and the Northeast, but people would really like to see better or have more time with, even the migrants and stuff like that. So we kind of target the special areas because conservation is important, especially in Connecticut, but it's also fun to show people that there's all these colorful birds that can be found in your own backyard, not just on big, crazy travels across the globe. We also offer Connecticut River cruises. So I would assume almost everyone here knows about the tree swallow migration in the fall. It's going on right now. I just had about 400,000 tree swallows this past Sunday on our swallow boat. But we do 2 main Connecticut River cruises every year. We do 4 swallow boats in the fall, in the month of September. And we do 2 eagle boats, eagle and osprey boats that we do in the late spring, early summer. And that's in partnership with the Essex Steam Train and Riverboat. We charter the boat out. In the fall, that includes a ride in the steam train. We take the train to the dock, and we're out on the water for anywhere between 3.5 to 5 hours on a given day. It's always fun on the Connecticut River. You never know what you're going to see. In addition to the about 400,000 tree swallows we had this past Sunday, we also had almost 50 common nighthawks, 40 osprey, and 10 bald eagle. So a very nice evening on the river. The sun had was peeking through the rain clouds that had just ended. It was absolutely a gorgeous evening, and everyone loved it. Now, all those boats are filled for the year, but or at least the swallow boats are, but they will be open again come spring. So, of course, join us and sign up for that, and keep your eyes out if you'd love to join us. We also do a October lighthouse cruise in Long Island Sound, where we take out one of the boats from the Cross Sound Ferry with one of their catamarans, and we go across the whole eastern part of the sound looking at lighthouses everywhere from the old Saybrook Light to Bug Light over in New York and the New London lights. All of those. It's always a great time. Andy narrates those. You still have to put up with me talking and checking you in, but Andy narrates those. Those kind of highlight our two main categories of day trips. Now, they're always, just like most of our trips, we're busiest in the spring and the fall. The summer, we don't have many day trip options, but when it's winter and there's not maybe a lot of birds out, we do also offer trips to, for example, Harvard, where we go to see the glass flowers exhibit with a private docent at the museum up there. We provide all the transportation, et cetera, with that. So we do offer some non-birding fun day trips as well. Going to overnights, we have the first category of domestic overnights. So they range everywhere from 2 nights to 14 nights or more, and they're all across the United States. Now, every year we go to Block Island, Monhegan, Cape May, McGee Marsh in Ohio, which I'll talk more about later, Nantucket, Minnesota, and then northern New Hampshire to the headwaters of the Connecticut River. And then we also offer trips to Arizona, Texas, California, Nebraska, just as some examples, also Florida, Maine. We've done North Dakota, we've done Oregon, we've done Alaska. So we do cover basically every major birding area in the United States. And when you're coming on a trip, your prices generally includes all ground transportation. So it doesn't include airfare. But if you're doing a regional trip in Connecticut, it does include your transportation from a pickup, whether it's a commuter lot or one of our centers. Also includes the hotels, meals as listed in the itinerary, and then entry fees and guiding fees. We do not include all meals. I'll talk a bit more about that later. And we do not include alcoholic beverages, but you are welcome to purchase them on your own. But that's kind of what we do domestically. Those are the first trips that people kind of come on and explore, especially the Block Island trip, which is coming up in just about 3 weeks, I believe. I'm doing my mental math correct. And then we also offer the big ones, the international trips. And these are anywhere from 5 nights to 14 nights or even longer. And they go across the globe. So every year we offer trips to Costa Rica, Iceland, Brazil, and Tanzania. But we also have destinations including Romania, Australia, Scotland, Japan, Colombia coming up in the future. So we have a lot of international options. Actually, even Panama in just a couple months, 2 months from now. And again, essentially everything's included as well, like just as with domestics, not including airfare, passport fees, alcoholic beverages. That's something you'll find across any travel. Alcohol is never really included unless it's an alcohol-centered trip, which are not common at all. But we also do try to fly as groups for all these, so information that comes along as we go through that. And then we have year-round opportunities. So this really sets us apart from a lot of other companies in the fact that we are IATA accredited a travel agency. So we partner with Holland America and Tucano River Cruises to offer year-round cruise opportunities. We also can partner with any of the other major cruise companies or any other tour operator, and you still support Connecticut Audubon. So if you book through us for one of these trips, like if you love going on an Alaska cruise, or you go on a Caribbean cruise every winter, whether it's with Holland or Carnival, Princess, Cunard, Disney, if you have grandkids, if you book through us, we get some kickback back from the major cruise operator that continues on and supports Connecticut Audubon. So if there's an adventure you want to go on, but we don't offer it currently, you can still reach out and ask about it, because if there is someone who offers it, we can help arrange that, and then you're still supporting Connecticut Audubon's work and conservation in your state by traveling with us. So it's a broad overview for, relatively quick there, going over some things, but I want to jump into a couple trips to talk a bit more about them and kind of give you a better understanding of how we run trips. And I want you to pay attention to group sizes because we really focus on small group experiences. And that cannot be stressed enough besides this first, or outside of this first trip coming up here, which is the winter owl blitz that we go to Sax-Zim Bog in Minnesota. So Sax-Zim Bog is one of the premier birding destinations in the US, both in the summer and in the winter. But winter's the reason most people go, and it's to see this owl on the screen. This is the great gray owl, one of the largest owls on the planet. It's a mythical owl that people dream of seeing, and we've had pretty good luck. We've only missed it on one trip out of the last 5 that we've run. And usually they're pretty reliable. They're year-round residents up there, but it can be cold. The last couple of years have been in the mid-20s, but 3 years ago, it was -40. So it does get a little chilly. Thankfully, a lot of the birding is by the car and close to it. But again, for this trip, we take a minimum of 3 and a maximum of 5. You'll see a lot of other companies focus on like 7 or so, but we really focus on pushing that smaller group size, making sure you have that one-on-one ratio as close as we can get. I guess 3-to-1 ratio actually, but that way everyone can get on a bird. You're not getting lost in a group. You're not getting split up on a trail. But it really, I mean, these owls, every year I see them, people see them. I've had people cry over them. They're breathtaking. They look in, their eyes pierce your soul is what I tell everyone. And it's not something I can recommend enough that someone experiences that at least once. And as a further example, I just have some photos from the trip, and you can even see in that middle picture, that great gray is just staring right down the camera lens. It actually heard me taking the picture and looked straight down the barrel. But also you have a good chance of seeing these long-eared owls here on the left-hand side, but also evening grosbeaks and common redpolls, or I guess now they're just called redpolls. But it can be a cold trip, but it's a very rewarding trip. And with those small groups, it's always fun. Everyone always comes out laughing and enjoying the warmth of the car, and then being cold struck as you step outside. It definitely makes for a once in a lifetime experience. Another example of a domestic trip that we offer is again McGee Marsh. So as Melissa mentioned earlier, I talk about Ohio. A lot of people overlook Ohio as a birding destination, but it's actually one of the best birding destinations in the US. It's world famous. People this year came from 49 states and about 37 countries to experience the spring migration at McGee Marsh. Nearly 30 species of warblers show up every year. In fact, you have a high chance of seeing over 30 species, just like this black-throated blue on the screen. One of the main targets is Kirtland's warbler, which is a formerly critically endangered, now considered vulnerable warbler species that breeds in Michigan. Now, McGee is special for multiple reasons. One, it holds a very close place to my heart, as it is where I busted my birding chops, being an alum of Ohio State. It's where I first guided. It's where all my friends are. My friends actually still run the big birding festival out there. But it's also an experience to go out there, not just for the birds, but as much for the people. Because like I said, nearly all 50 states, almost 40 countries come every year. It's a lot of fun to be standing on the boardwalk with someone from Germany talking to an Amish person from Ohio about how to identify red-tailed hawks in the field, the subspecies, or just hearing the oohs and ahs and the gasps. And this is one of my favorite trips to run because these birds are mostly down around eye level, for example. And I'd like to think that there's probably no one in Connecticut who knows this route as much as I do, because I lived out there for 4 years and I know all the hidden corners and all the hidden nooks and crannies, and it is my favorite place in the US to go birding, bar none. There's no other place I'd rather go. If you made me pick one place the rest of my life, it would be McGee Marsh in the spring. It is a spectacular experience. And again, a small group, minimum of 5, maximum of 7, and really focusing on that one-to-one, making sure everyone gets on the bird experience. Of course, domestic trips are always fun, but international trips well, we'll get to those in a second, I guess. There are a couple more photos I have from McGee. These are just an example of how close these birds get. I've had that yellow warbler in the upper right-hand corner actually ended up climbing into my camera lens when I was taking the picture, just standing there. The yellow rumps that we see in the winter and breeding plumage in the upper left are quite stunning in spring, and the magnolia warbler below it. And then the inquisitive black-throated gray, once again, not caring that people are there. You almost can, we don't recommend it, but you can almost reach out and pick up some of the warblers some years. It is a breathtaking spectacle. But again, international, the United States has a lot of birds, but sometimes there are some really cool places to go across the globe as well. And we're fortunate enough to offer those to all of our members as well. So for example, we have a trip every year to or not every year, more recently to the Scottish Highlands. We had it go this year. We have it on the calendar again for next year. You get to explore everywhere from Edinburgh to the Isle of Skye, ruins, and more. Again, this is a small group of 6. So it's a Connecticut Audubon escort and the local, and then 6 people. So it's a 3-to-1 ratio of guide to traveler. And you get to explore, you get to see puffins in breeding, visit the critically endangered black grouse, visit some red grouse, which were just recently split from willow ptarmigan, for example. It's a great experience, and who doesn't like traveling for your first time international where at least they still speak a language you can understand? It's always one of the biggest questions we get is the language barrier. So it's a great way to get that foot in the door traveling internationally, but going somewhere where you can understand everyone. It might be a bit of an accent, might take you a second, but at least it's still English to start. And again, some recent photos from our travelers who just went this year. You have this beautiful common blue butterfly. You also have a northern lapwing, which is a shorebird, and then a northern fulmar. And there's not many places on the planet you can see a fulmar and get a picture of it with land in the background. Normally, deep sea bird does not come to land except for its nesting, but here in Scotland, it is nesting. It's out there. They fly close. Great experience. And obviously, this beautiful old growth forest trail. Of course, some of the best birds can be found in the tropics, and we specialize a lot in Costa Rica. Now, we have various trips that we offer. They change almost every year. So for example, you'll see I have 2 listed here, January 25th to February 4th. That's a nice about 12-day long trip focusing on the northern part of the country. But then we have this great opportunity this upcoming year to offer a very short and sweet trip to see the beautiful Agami heron. And that's this bird posted here on the page. This is actually a picture taken by our local this year. Up until May, Costa Rica only had about 180 known pairs of this bird. So, well, 180 birds, about 90 pairs. For some reason in May, all of a sudden these birders found an additional 1,000 birds split across 2 more colonies, each of 500 pairs, including a super accessible one by a roadside. And our local escorts, we use some of the best local guides that they offer that are in such high demand, they're turning away some of the largest tour companies in the planet to keep working with small conservation organizations like us. So we're fortunate enough to offer this as an opportunity, specialized with them. And again, Costa Rica is a phenomenal intro to if you've never traveled internationally. If you've never gone to the tropics, it has a wonderful infrastructure. As you can see, the average species over 10 days is well over 400. This past year, actually, this past year we had just under 400 at 398, but on most years we get between 400 and 450. But like I said, it shifts every year. So I always like to keep it fresh for Costa Rica. We're never running the same route every year. It's always a new place. We're mixing it up. We want to keep it fresh and exciting and get people going back because it really is a phenomenal country to go explore. Just further example by these photos from these mannequins, which look like little dough balls, to the beautiful hummingbirds. Again, 52 species of breeding hummingbirds, or 52 species of hummingbirds occur there year round. About 51 of them breed there, with the ruby-throated hummingbird being the only one that does not breed there and instead breeds up in our neck of the woods. But you can see the beautiful crimson colored tanager, the stunning long-tailed silky flycatcher there as well. These are just the nice thing about birding in the tropics, especially in Costa Rica, is there's a lot of bird feeders. So they come in close. You're not, it might be hot and humid, but you're not going to stress yourself out. You're not going to more or less exhaust yourself walking on a trail. It's nice to be hot and humid in the morning, but sit out and enjoy the birds coming in with a cup of coffee and things like that. So again, I just wanted to highlight some of these trips. We have a lot. Like I said, we offer 50 trips a year across the globe and domestically. And sometimes we get quite a few questions. So the first one we always get is, what's the average group size? And on most of the overnight trips and actually day trips, it's between 4 and 9 people, with some, primarily trips to like Block Island or Monhegan, taking up to 16 people. Also, our most popular day trip that fills up to 16 is usually our trip to Fisher's Island. I forgot the name of the island for a second. Fisher's Island, because we are able to get access to the gated area and able to take people on hikes back there. So that's another example of a trip that we would take up to 16, but a lot of the time we are really focusing on less than double digits. We don't want double digits like a lot of these other companies will do. And we also get the question, what skill level do I have to be? You could be a first-time birder, you could be an expert birder. Everyone is welcome on a trip. Yes, some are a bit more fast-paced than others. You might have some, for example, if you go on a trip to northern Minnesota or North Dakota in the summer, where you have to get out, where the sunrise is really early, you might have to have really early mornings and really late evenings. But others are slow-paced. For example, that Minnesota trip, you're not leaving the hotel until 7 a.m. Sunrise isn't until a little after 7:30. You're getting up to the bog, you're taking it slow. You're getting back in the early evening around 5 o'clock. It's nice and a slow introductory pace. Nothing is really rushing. And I'd say another thing that sets us apart is that we make a conscious effort to get back to the hotel or wherever we're staying well before dinner time, so that you have time to relax and cool off or change into a new set of clothes. Very rarely are we going right from the field right to dinner. We're always going to give people that downtime to relax and just enjoy, because you're on vacation. You're maybe traveling on an organized trip, but you're on your own vacation, and we want you to feel that way. That's also why we don't include all meals on domestic trips. We want everyone to be flexible. So on most of our trips, we include all the breakfasts and at least one or possibly 2 dinners. Some trips we include lunches depending on the situation. But you'd be surprised the amount of times we hear that someone's not hungry, they don't want to eat a meal, or they'd rather stay back in the hotel room for dinner. And that's totally okay. We love that. Like I said, it's your trip. We want you to enjoy it. We want you to make it as much your own as it can. So we don't want you to feel obligated that you have to eat a meal because you spent the money to pay for that meal. So we include the bare minimum. But we still go out to meals together. It's not like we get back to the hotel in Cape May, for example, and everyone goes their different way. We get back to the hotel and we discuss where people want to go. And yeah, sometimes people want seafood, or sometimes people want American food or Mexican. And then you get little tiny groups that go out from there, but no one is really left alone until the next morning. We want, it's flexible. It's your trip again. And then who do you partner with internationally? We get a lot. Whenever we're going international on any trip, we are not doing it on our own. We're always using a local company to support the local economy, but also to support local conservation efforts. Every company we work with has active conservation projects within their country. For example, the Costa Rica people, depending on where we go, they're using the funds from our trip to purchase binoculars to give to elementary schools, or they're using it to help plant some more mangroves to stop the encroaching sea level, or everything in between. In fact, they're also using it to do research on an endangered bird in Costa Rica called the red-throated caracara, and they've found more hidden nesting sites that are not open to the public that are with the funds that have come from trips like ours. Even domestically, We do everything domestically by ourselves. We don't work with any local guides and destinations. We know where we're going. We've been there before. But we do use our sister organizations. For example, we have a trip to Nebraska and Kansas for sandhill cranes and prairie chickens. And we are supporting our sister organization, Audubon of Kansas, and visiting some of their properties, visiting some of their private areas, and supporting them with funds from our travel. Same thing again, we're working on trips to Montana, and we'll be partnering with Montana Audubon to support some of their conservation missions as they go across their or through their conservation challenges on a daily basis. We really want to support local communities and say, hey, we're coming here because you've done a great job protecting the environment. Keep protecting it, and everyone will keep coming back, and we'll keep supporting. We don't want forests to go away from logging or conservation to end in certain places. And essentially every local community I've ever been in is so excited. Even in Eastern Europe, in Romania, the locals were ecstatic to see that it was birders that were coming out. We were coming out to stay there because they had protected the land. And they love to hear that, and they all love to sit down and have conversations. And that's what makes it all worthwhile. Being able to have those conversations with locals and not just being a tourist that's not getting involved in the local community. And even on some of our trips internationally, we do cultural stuff. So, for example, in Spain, southern Spain, we go out and visit the Roman ruins, and we go to have tapas and a flamenco show and that whole experience. So we try to make the trips as immersive as we can while also seeing as much nature as we can. And before we get to any questions that there are, I have a couple more examples of trips. So again, I mentioned Block Island, Monhegan, Nantucket, Kansas, Nebraska, Delmarva, which is Delaware, Maryland, and Virginia, and even Texas. These are all trips that are coming up before spring of next year. And more international stuff, Panama, Tanzania, Iceland, Romania. We're working on a Colombia trip. That's why there's no days listed. We don't know exactly how long it's going to be yet, but also plenty more to come in the pipeline. We're always excited. We're always willing. If you have a group of people who want to travel somewhere, we can organize that private group, fundraising group, whatever. We can do all of that, and obviously more to come. And just one more thing, just an example. These are some of the trips I've gone on recently with some of my groups. So the largest photo is a trip from McGee this year. This is the group from McGee. The bottom right photo is from the Connecticut Lakes. That's the fourth Connecticut Lake behind us. And then you have the Adirondacks, and then you have Costa Rica above. So you can really see how small our groups are, and how everyone really gets along. It's great. I'm actually looking at these photos now, and I'm realizing I have a couple regulars in them, but not as many as I thought I did. So I did a good job picking photos there. But it shows the nice diverse group that we have. And I hope that some of you who haven't traveled with me before, who might be on this call, would love to join in one of these selfies, the one selfie and the other three group photos. So I didn't want to overwhelm people with information, but again, it is membership month. I don't know if there are any questions. I don't know why I can't see the bottom bar. I can't see anything besides my screen right now. But again, it is membership month. All members who travel with us get discounts on the trips. So it's a benefit to travel with us. It's open to anyone, but we always encourage people to join us as members, support conservation in Connecticut, support our mission, support all the efforts that we do across the state. I see a couple things. Is there questions? Let's see. Brian, you had some trip ideas. Trinidad and Tobago, Puerto Rico, Scottish Islands, Spain. I will say that those are all, 4 of those are being worked on right now, Brian. So or at least they're on my list of things that are being worked on. The other ones I will have to investigate. But yes, are there any questions anywhere? If not,
Matt, if someone wants to find out more about it, is it the best thing to go to the website? Is it the best thing to email you, or?
great question. If you want to see a listing, more list of what we offer, the best place to go is the website, and either check the day trips page under EcoTravel or the overnights page, or check the newsletter, which is uploaded on there. If you want specific information on any certain trip, feel free to give us a call in the office. The number is listed on the website, or also shoot anyone an email, including myself. There's 3 of us in the office. We can answer that, get itineraries out to you.
I'm going to be
Whoops.
sending out a YouTube link for all of everyone who signed up tonight. And if I will put the link also to the newsletter onto
Yes.
that email for everyone.
Yes, that's it. Yes, that's perfect. Yeah, and the newsletter comes out 3 times. I can get this wrong. It's 3 or 4 times a year. Let's see, December 1st, April 1st, and August 1st. So like 3 times a year. And it has updates. The international trips will be advertised coming this December. Will be advertised through 2027. Domestically will be out just about a year out in advance, and day trips will be through the next newsletter. So we kind of flex them in that regard, but you can see all the options that we have. And like I said, if you have anything you want us to offer, or have questions about why we don't, shoot me an email. Oh yes, Brian makes a good point. I didn't mention it as I showed early on. We use eBird, at least I do, but we do keep active bird lists for the whole trip. So especially on a big trip to the tropics, you see a lot of species. But your leader is actively keeping a list, and then in the evenings we try to go over that day's list, and then at the end of the trip we'll send out a cumulative list to everyone who would like one. But also, if you use eBird at the end of a trip, we will share every single list to your eBird account. So you don't have to worry about keeping a list on the trip. That's up to your leader, and your leader will take care of that. Your goal is just to get on as many birds as you can, see your birds, etc. Also a question, if you're not a photographer, do folks share photos? People will share photos. Essentially what happens is our policy is that we do not give out individual contact information for other travelers. So normally at the end of a trip, I'd say it happens on 95% of the trips, someone passes around a notepad and everyone writes down their emails, and then someone makes a group email chain, and the photographers end up sending out links to their albums, etc. Now we are going to, in 2026, I'm going to try to start using the membership portal that Connecticut Audubon offers, and having that as a place where travelers on trips can post and share photos for people on the trip. So it won't be visible to anyone who's not on the trip, but anyone who's signed up for the trip or has taken part in the trip will have a place where everyone can share photos or memories from that most recent adventure.
Awesome. What would you suggest to be like a really good beginner if someone just wanted to kind of dip their toes into it? Which is a good one for them to do that?
I can give a couple answers. For day trips, I'd say probably anything in the spring, whether it's what we call our line loop day trip or the Wood Warblers of Cacaponsett, are both great longer day trips. So I know a lot of the centers at Connecticut Audubon do about 2-3 hour walks, but those are about 8-hour day trips through the Essex Old Lyme area. They're a great intro into our day trips. If you're on the other side of the state, when we do our trips to for the short-eared owls or anything down to Jamaica Bay, for example, and Queens, which is just this past weekend, that's a fall trip. But that's a good trip to get the foot in the water about how day trips go. Overnight wise, I'd say the Block Island trip is our most popular intro trip, along with Monhegan Island. People really love those island trips because you're not changing hotels and you have the option to go back to your hotel if you want to take some time. For a longer intro trip, domestically, the Delmarva trip, which is actually the same length, or that's 5. I'm doing math. No, it's another 4-day trip, 4 or 5-day trip. That one is a bit more of a intense trip, and that it moves hotels every night, but it is more of what a traditional style trip is. And then internationally, I'm going to go Costa Rica. It's a small group. It's great lodges. Things are, like I said, they're accessible. There's feeders. We have a Panama trip coming up this November, which is also a good example. Um, but we'll bring that back again in the future. So those areas of the tropics, and when we put Puerto Rico back on the calendar, which will be soon, that will also be a good one because that's still the U.S. So you don't need a passport, but you get a lot of the tropical type of birds and get a feeling of what tropical birding experience is like. And that's a short trip as well. Puerto Rico is about 6 days.
All right, cool. If someone is interested in the longer trip, like the international trip, I would assume that uh for planning purposes, do you guys fill up quick? Is it something they should be thinking of if they want to do 2027? Should they be thinking of that now?
It changes, yes and no.
Okay.
I would say always be thinking of it now. Yes, think of it now because the sooner you sign up, the better. But sometimes we have space still available later on. But also, if some super popular trips like the Tanzania trip fill up quick. So you want to get your name on while you can. And especially with the small groups, like if one trip starts going, it can fill quickly. Um, so I would at the very least, if you're interested, shoot us an email because then you're on our contact list. And then as things get closer, if you still haven't decided yet, we can give you an update like, hey, someone else is looking for the last spot. Like, just a heads up, whoever makes the decision first can get it. But it always shifts depending on the trip.
Awesome. And then one last thing that I know that you didn't mention, but you offer EcoTravel offers binoculars, scopes, and a way to buy and purchase those. So if
Yes.
anyone, is going on and you're worried about not having a scope or not having binoculars, Matt or Andy, anybody in the EcoTravel office can help you with purchase and recommendations on any of the binoculars or the scopes that they have. So
Yep, we sell Zeiss, Swarovski, and Vortex binoculars and Benro tripods at the cheapest market price. And we have most of them in stock. So if you need new binoculars or you want to upgrade before an upcoming trip, we can absolutely make that happen.
oh, cool. Well, thank you so much, Matt. That was awesome. I really want to go on a couple trips myself. But for right now, Joyce Lights would like to say something, our executive director. So I am going to spotlight her.
Thanks, Deb. Well, thank you for joining us, Matt. Thank you so much for that overview. Matt pointed out some really key things that we're particularly proud of, or at least I'm particularly proud of, at being the executive director of Connecticut Audubon Society. Our EcoTravel program is really about getting you out in nature, but it's also about protecting the environment in all the places that we visit. So our partnerships, the travel companies we work with, and the work that we're doing all across the world and the United States is really important. And the program itself, as Matt noted, funds conservation, habitat management, education programs, specifically in Connecticut as well. So if you traveled with Matt and Andy, you know that they do an amazing job at making sure that you see really what you want to see. They go out of their way to make sure that you get that experience and that you can get your eyes on the wildlife that they spot. So I hope you take a chance to look at our site, and as Matt noted, it is membership month and our travel programs offer major discounts to our members. So it's a huge benefit, and take advantage. Come out and visit with us. Thank you.
Thanks, Joyce. All right. Well, thank you everyone that joined us tonight. Again, I'll have this YouTube on YouTube tomorrow and be sending that out. But I would suggest, if nothing else, go in and sign up for the EcoTravel newsletter and check out all of the listings of all of the trips that are coming up. I think you won't be disappointed. And to all our members, thank you again so much for being members. You guys really make what we do possible, and can't thank you enough for that. It is membership month. Make sure you have your email listed with us so that you are, eligible for our raffles this month, some of our giveaways and other things that are going on. So we have a membership members only author talk coming up on the 23rd with Tina Morris. She wrote Return to the Sky, which is a really cool story about the return of the bald eagle in upstate New York and how she was instrumental in making that happen. So I want to thank you again for everybody for showing up. Thank you, Melissa. Thanks for Joyce. And of course, thanks, Matt.
Thank
Have a
you.
good night, everyone.
Have a lovely night.
Thank you.